Jonathan Hale had everything a man could dream of: wealth, power, and a mansion that overlooked the lake like a silent king. But inside that mansion lived his greatest heartbreak. His 3-year-old triplet daughters, Emma, Ella, and Elise, all born mute. Doctors said their silence might last forever. Their mother had died during childbirth, leaving Jonathan drowning in guilt and grief. Despite his billions, loneliness clung to him like a cold shadow. He hired nannies from around the world, but none lasted. The girls stayed expressionless, unreachable, trapped behind an invisible wall. Until one morning, a young nanny arrived wearing a simple, light blue and white uniform and a warm smile that lit up the cold foyer. Her name was Marilyn Carter. Jonathan almost dismissed her. She seemed too gentle for a job that had broken so many. But the triplets ran to her instantly, tugging at her dress, giggling silently. Jonathan froze. They had never gone to anyone. Something about her felt different. By noon, Jonathan heard thumping footsteps above. He rushed upstairs, expecting chaos, but instead, he stopped dead. Through the door crack, he saw Marilyn spinning gracefully, arms outstretched. The triplets, in their bright yellow dresses, copied her movements with joy sparkling in their blue eyes. They were smiling something they had not done since birth. Jonathan's heart skipped. As he watched from the shadows, he realized she wasn't just entertaining them, she was teaching them something. Was this luck, talent, or something deeper? For the first time in years, hope flickered in the cold mansion, but Jonathan had no idea that Marilyn carried a secret, one powerful enough to shake his entire world. The next morning, Jonathan left early for work, at least that's what he told Marilyn. But as he reached his car, something tugged at him. Curiosity, suspicion, fear of hope. He turned back quietly and slipped inside through the side entrance. The mansion felt alive in a way it hadn't in years. Soft humming echoed down the hallway. He followed it cautiously and stopped before the playroom door. Slowly, he pushed it open. His jaw fell. Marilyn, still in her neat, light blue uniform, stood on one foot like a ballerina. The triplets, tiny, adorable in their bright yellow dresses, copied her movement perfectly. Their toes pointed, their chubby arms stretched. Their faces glowed with joy. But that wasn't what shocked him. Marilyn wasn't humming a tune. She was humming sign language rhythms. Each soft sound matched a hand motion. Each motion matched a meaning. And the girls were copying her, not just the dance, but the language. Jonathan clutched the doorframe. My daughters are learning to communicate. Marilyn gently touched each girl's chin and signed. Happy. The triplets repeated it, their tiny fingers shaping each sign carefully. Jonathan felt tears burn his eyes. All the specialists he had hired, all the therapies he had paid millions for, none had reached the girls like this. He stepped forward, unable to hold back. Where did you learn this? Marilyn turned slowly, startled, but her expression softened when she saw his face. Sir, I didn't know you were home. Answer me, he whispered, voice cracking. She looked at the girls lovingly, before meeting his eyes. I wasn't just hired as a nanny, Mr. Hale. I came here with a purpose. I know why your daughters can't speak. Jonathan's knees nearly buckled. What purpose? What did she know? Jonathan stared at her, stunned. You know why my daughters are mute? How? The doctors. Marilyn raised a hand gently. Doctors can't diagnose a wound of the soul, sir. Her words prickled Jonathan's skin. He watched as she gathered the triplets around her. Elise rested her head on Marilyn's lap, while Emma and Ella held her hands. They trusted her completely. Marilyn took a deep breath. My little sister was mute too. Not because of any medical condition, but because of trauma. She witnessed our parents' accident and lost her voice from shock. Jonathan blinked. What does that have to do with my daughters? Everything, Marilyn whispered. Your girls weren't born mute. They became mute. The air left his lungs. That's impossible. They were silent from birth. No, sir, Marilyn said softly. On the day they were born, you were not told the full truth. After your wife died on the operating table, something happened. Something that scared all 3 infants so deeply that it stole their voices before they could cry. Jonathan's heart pounded violently. What happened? Marilyn didn't answer. Instead, she lifted her hand and signed something. The girls looked at their father and repeated the signs. Jonathan recognized the motion. It meant pain. Pain? Infants? Jonathan stumbled back, overwhelmed. Marilyn, how do you know this? She hesitated. Because the nurse who was in that delivery room was my aunt. She told me everything before she died. Jonathan's chest tightened. Marilyn continued, When I heard the Hale triplets were hiring another nanny, I didn't come for the job. I came to finish what my sister started to help them speak again. Jonathan felt the floor tilt beneath him. If she was right, then everything he believed about his daughter's silence was a lie. Jonathan demanded answers. He followed Marilyn into the living room, still shaken, his navy suit and red tie slightly loosened as if strangling him. The triplets toddled behind them quietly. Tell me everything, he insisted. Marilyn sat on the couch and placed Emma on her lap. My aunt worked in the maternity ward the night your daughters were born. She told me your wife had complications. The room was chaotic. The surgeon shouted at everyone. Equipment fell. A tray crashed. Blood spilled everywhere. The babies came out early and fragile. Jonathan swallowed hard, flashes of that night burning his memory. Marilyn continued. When the doctor announced your wife didn't make it, someone screamed one of the nurses. It startled the infants so badly that all 3 froze. They didn't cry. They didn't breathe. For almost a full minute, they were silent. Jonathan grabbed the armrest, trembling. That can't be the reason they've been mute for 3 years. Trauma can't last that long. Marilyn nodded compassionately. It can, if no one ever breaks through the fear. Jonathan had no answer. The girls never had a mother's voice to comfort them, she whispered. You were grieving. Every nanny quit. They learned to live in silence because silence felt safe. Jonathan covered his face. He had failed them. But then Marilyn lifted Emma's hand and helped her sign a word. Daddy! Jonathan froze when all 3 girls repeated it with soft smiles, their fingers moving in unison. Tears streamed down his face. This was the first time his daughters had ever called him anything. Marilyn watched him gently. They're ready to speak again, sir. But they need something from you. Something only you can give. Jonathan looked at her desperately. What? What do they need? Marilyn stood up and motioned for Jonathan to follow her to the backyard. The sun was bright, the air soft. She placed the triplets in front of him and knelt beside them. They need your voice, she said simply. Not commands, not instructions. Your story. Jonathan frowned. My story? Yes. Tell them about their mother. Tell them who they are. Speak even if they can't speak back. Jonathan's throat tightened. He had avoided that conversation since the day his wife died, but Marilyn placed her hand over his. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. Jonathan took a shaky breath and looked at his daughters' 3 bright yellow dresses glowing under the sun. 3 little faces waiting quietly. He began softly. Your mom. She was brave. She was funny. She loved sunflowers and pancakes. She couldn't wait to meet you. The girls watched him carefully, eyes wide. She held your tiny hands, Jonathan continued, voice quivering. And she told me that even if she didn't survive, you would carry her smile. Is lighter. Emma blinked rapidly. Elise hugged her own arms. Ella stepped closer to him. Jonathan crouched to their height. I loved her so much, and when I lost her, I didn't know how to be a father alone. Marilyn whispered, Keep going. Jonathan swallowed. But I promise I will never be silent again. Not with you. Not ever. Slowly, Ella reached out and touched his cheek. Elise signed, sad, and Emma copied. Jonathan nodded, tears falling. Yes, sad, but healing too. Marilyn's voice was soft. They understand you. They feel you. That connection will break their silence. Jonathan looked up, hope flickering. Will they ever speak? Marilyn smiled. If you keep going, one day, yes. But Jonathan didn't expect that one day to come sooner than anyone. 2 weeks passed. Jonathan canceled meetings, stayed home daily, and followed every instruction Marilyn gave. He told stories. He danced. He laughed loudly even when it felt awkward. And slowly, the triplets blossomed. They signed more words. They played more. They clung to Jonathan like they never had before. Then it happened. One quiet evening, the mansion was warm with golden light. Jonathan sat on the rug, still wearing his navy suit, his red tie loosened from exhaustion and joy. Marilyn was teaching the girls a new dance routine. Arms up, toes point. Good, Marilyn encouraged. The triplets giggled silently, shaking with excitement. Then Ella stumbled and fell. Not hard, just enough to startle herself. Tears welled in her eyes. Jonathan rushed forward. Ella, it's okay, sweetheart. Her tiny chest rose and fell quickly. And then, Jonathan froze. Marilyn gasped. Emma and Elise stopped moving. Ella opened her mouth again, voice trembling like a bird learning to fly. Da-da! Jonathan dropped to his knees, stunned beyond words. Emma and Elise looked at their sister in shock, and then as if something inside them unlocked, they both attempted the same sound. Da. Jonathan covered his mouth, shaking violently. He had waited 3 years to hear even a whisper from them. Marilyn knelt beside them, tears sliding down her cheeks. You did it, sir. You broke the silence. Jonathan gathered all 3 daughters into his arms, sobbing openly. Daddy's here, always. The mansion, once a tomb of grief, was filled with the soft, beautiful echoes of reborn voices. But the biggest revelation was still coming, one that would shake Jonathan more than anything he had heard so far. The next morning, Marilyn entered Jonathan's office with a small envelope. Her hands trembled slightly. This came from the hospital, she said quietly. It was delivered today. It's from my aunt, but she wrote it before she died. Jonathan stiffened. A letter? For me? Marilyn nodded. I think it's the truth you never received. Jonathan opened it carefully. The handwriting was shaky but clear. Mr. Hale, I was in the delivery room when your wife passed. I must confess something before it destroys me. Jonathan's breath caught. Your wife spoke with me moments before she lost consciousness. She said she knew she wouldn't survive. She asked me to protect the babies from the shock of what was happening. She asked me to keep them calm, even if they could not cry. Jonathan's hand shook violently. Marilyn placed a hand on his shoulder. He continued reading. When the chaos erupted, I tried covering their ears, but I failed. They were silent because they were terrified. I am so sorry. I should have told you, but the hospital forced us to hide it. They were afraid of a lawsuit. Jonathan exhaled shakily. All these years, the silence wasn't nature. It was tragedy. Tears blurred his eyes as he finished the letter. Please find someone who can reach them. Someone gentle. Someone who understands trauma. Someone who will love them. Jonathan looked up at Marilyn. You were meant to come here. Marilyn nodded, eyes misty. Your daughters healed me as much as I healed them. Jonathan hugged his triplets tightly. Their tiny voices whispered, "Dada." For the first time since losing his wife, Jonathan felt whole again, and the mansion, once wrapped in silence, finally learned to breathe.